The students at Duke University take their Blue Devil basketball seriously. They've been camping out since last Wednesday, day and night, waiting to get into the game against Carolina. Occasionally, some studying does take place, but not in the library. This was a scene earlier today as 3 days of waiting pay off. A first-come, first-served seat to North Carolina versus Duke. It's college basketball on CBS. This is Cameron Indoor Stadium on the campus of Duke University, one of the toughest road games of the country. A place where the Blue Devils have won 22 in a row. And today, the second-ranked team of the country, North Carolina, comes to Durham as two schools 8 miles apart renew one of America's best rivalries. And we are located high above in the rafters in Cameron, a slice of America. Welcome to the Duke North Carolina game. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender. This is the first of our doubleheader. Coming up next, many of you will see Georgetown against Pittsburgh, and then some of you will see the defending national champions Louisville going against Wyoming. With me is Billy Factor. And Billy, two teams with 10-game winning streaks. And, you know, it's amazing to me when you come to a collision course like this. Dean Smith's all concerned. I'm scoring 95 points a game, but he says that Duke defense is tough.
It is tough, Gary. It's man-to-man in principle. They have Tommy Amaker that can take your point guard out of the offense, which is very helpful. And this may be a more athletic Duke team than the one that went to the Final Four last year.
Well, that Duke team lost 4 starters. A lot of people thought they would struggle, but they come on very well. Now, Mike Krzyzewski said, I'm not sure we're ready for this type of game.
Well, they played well against all types of competition early. But this is a special ball game, a major conference test for them. Although last year they scrimmaged against the Dawkins and the Allery, it's not the same thing to put it on the line for a major game. Only time's going to tell today.
Well, there's some craziness here, but it should be quite a basketball game. From the ACC, Duke, North Carolina, coming up. CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game between North Carolina and Duke is sponsored by the Heartbeat of America. Today's Chevrolet. Stroh's and Stroh's Light. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here. And by Mr. Goodrich. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodrich. No one.
The muffler shop, the transmission shop, the tune-up shop. None of them has this total cost.
Yesterday, Duke University announced a new head football coach, and there he is, Steve Spurrier, the former Heisman Trophy winner and a former offensive coordinator at Duke. He signed a 4-year contract to coach Duke. Now let's check the starting lineup. First, we're going to take a look at North Carolina. Hunter, a Durham native, starting in his senior year. Joel Wolf has been out 2 weeks with a back problem. Dave Popson, the 6'10" senior forward. Kenny Smith, he'll push the ball up the floor for Dean Smith's club. And Jeff Lebo, who's deadly from that three-point line. Danny Ferry at 6'10", a sophomore. He's become a primetime player. Billy King, their defensive specialist at 6'6". This is a surprise, man. Smith at 6'7" has come out of nowhere to be the starting center. Amaker, the consummate point guard. And Kevin Strickland out 2 games with a sore shoulder, back in, and we're ready to go. Both teams carry a 10-game winning streak coming in here. Duke 11-1. North Carolina 12-1, ranked second in the country. This is Kevin Strickland, who's their leading scorer, but as we mentioned, missed the last 2 games into Smith. And John Smith has been fouled. The foul will go on Dave Popson.
Gary, Smith is an inch smaller than Billis, who played center for Duke last year. He doesn't have the bulk, but he is a much, much better athlete. Quick off his feet, strong hands. It's incredible to think he could make such quick strides compared to last year's play. There's an out-of-bounds play that Duke runs all the time, looking for the screen inside.
Billy King picks it off to Ferry. Ferry cross-court to Strickland. Lebo will pick him up.
Now, Duke's a team that likes to go for the three-point play, so they'll throw cross-court. And there's that quickness.
There's Ferry. He's leading the team in assists, who got the ball into John Smith. And Smith gives Duke a 2-0 lead. Curtis Hunter, who played high school basketball in Durham, off to Joe Wolf. Wolf has had the back spasms. Lebo, baseline Hunter, and it'll be knocked away, and it's going to be North Carolina's basketball.
Very about as good a matchup defensively as you'll see in college basketball. Amaker on Smith, which is a great matchup in itself, and then Billy King, the great swing man, who's now guarding Lebo. He lost him for a second.
Hobson driving in. He ties it up. Dave Hobson playing the best of his career. This is senior year out of Ashley, Pennsylvania. Here's Amaker, the only returning starter. This man started the first 21 games last year for Duke and then came off the bench as the sixth man on the stretch drive. Billy King.
King, not a great pure shooter, but a good athlete inside. And this is what North Carolina has had a tendency to do so far this year, is to throw the ball away. But what it does, it creates up-tempo. And if you're going to run, you are going to make some turnovers.
This year, thus far, Billy, Mike Krzyzewski's crew has forced an average of 23 turnovers a game. That's a phenomenal figure.
Well, Carolina this year has 205 turnovers so far in the year. It's not like a normal Carolina team, but they do push that ball up the floor.
Berry, a wild pass intended for Smith. That'll turn it over and give it back to the Tar Heels.
Danny Ferry has excellent fundamentals, played at DeMatha. Of course, his father is the GM of the Bullets. That time he didn't have his feet planted and threw a bad pass.
And earlier, of course, with the outstanding pass for the assist. There's a steal attempt by King. And we're going to have a held ball. And it will go to North Carolina. The alternating possession, the arrow pointing toward the Tar Heels.
Jeff Lebo is not used to having a man of Billy King's athletic ability or size guarding him. He's going to have to figure out how to come off some screens to get that shot off, and here's a 5-second call.
They didn't get it in. It'll go to Duke. Outstanding defense on that inbounds play, and you got to believe, Billy, that this crowd can intimidate you a little bit. You're standing on the sideline trying to inbound the ball.
Well, it's a two-edged sword there. I think any great player loves to play in this type of environment, even if he's the visitor. Ball not yet over half court, so it wasn't a backcourt violation.
King picked up by Curtis Hunter. Billy King, a 6'6 junior, out to Amaker. Spin move.
Is he smooth or is he smooth?
Last year was not a scorer, but they're looking to him more this year. Here's Hunter inside, and they come back and tie it up at 4. They got that ball down there in a hurry, didn't they?
They did. What I see for Carolina in this ball game, here comes the jump trap for North Carolina, is to get J.R. Reed in the game and create a bad mismatch for Duke on the inside.
That was a three-point attempt. It goes off of North Carolina. Duke will inbounds. 17:39 to go in the first half.
Right now, Duke matches up pretty well with Curtis Hunter playing a small forward position, but if they put Reed in the game, they really have a mismatch in size.
Talking about J.R. Reed, the 6'9 freshman. Duke now 6-4 lead. Broken up by Strickland. Hunter reloaded it, and it's going to be off of North Carolina.
This Duke team has got some pretty good depth. They have 8 fellas that have scored 10 or more points in a game, and 4 of their players have scored over 20 in a game. So Mike Krzyzewski can go to that bench.
Last team to win here was North Carolina, 1985. Last year, these two clubs splitting, winning at home. Here is Amaker. And look at Smith get up, would you? Popson tries to follow. We're going to have a foul on John Smith. The Smith at 6'7" has had great leaping ability.
He is extremely quick, excellent athlete, top-notch student. When you take into consideration last year, he played less than 100 minutes on the season, and now he's moved into the starting lineup and has been a real factor.
They want him to rebound a little more. His rebound statistics only a 3 per game, but they think that will come. He's still thinking too much. Here's Kenny Smith. Bottle tip is in. Give that to Hunter, I believe. Curtis Hunter following inside.
There's North Carolina in that man-to-man of their own.
Amaker out to King. Pressure now from Hunter. Billy King, outstanding defensive player for Duke. They want to put him on Lebo today. Here is Smith. Smith playing with confidence.
It is amazing to see the strides he's made in 1 year. And again, Gary, to go back to practicing every day against a Mark Allery makes you a better ball player, even if you're not getting playing time in the game.
Joe Wolf inside, and he's been fouled. Strickland picks up the foul. Well, they that they could tell in practice that he had more potential than his statistics of a year ago would indicate. But I don't think anybody figured he'd be starting for Duke.
He's asking to come out right now. Duke using the same system that North Carolina does. He's pulling on his shirt and giving the fist. So Martin Nestle will come in and take his place just to give Smith the rest.
Some of that hyperventilation early, huh? The excitement of the game.
Well, he's really been putting out, and he needs a blow. Interestingly, when North Carolina instituted that rule of showing the fist, a player has the right to put himself back in the game if he takes himself out of the game. Let's see if that happens at Duke also. And here comes J.R. Reed in the game, and now that matchup problem changes.
Well, Nestle's 7'2", so they counter with Reed, who's 6'9". Smith leads with 6 points, hitting 3 of 4 from the field. As Hunter sits down, Joel Wolf, an 88% free throw shooters, hit the first one. They'll try to tie it up, and it's tied up at 8.
Gary, the matchup problem is not so much for Nestle. The matchup problem comes one for Strickland. The reason he's playing a forward defensively is because Billy King has to take Lebo, and there's a bad play.
Berry rushed it, couldn't connect with King. The turnover gives it to North Carolina. Nestle, by the way, the last time out in the estimation of Mike Krzyzewski, turned around the St. Joseph's game. Came in and played 14 minutes, had 10 points and 9 rebounds.
And 5 fouls. So he was obviously very active on both ends.
60 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Wolf out of Kohler, Wisconsin. All-around player for Dean Smith. Lebo, the sophomore from Carlisle, into J.R. Reed.
There hasn't been a player come on the scene as a freshman with size that is so compact and so well organized inside as J.R. Reed. He just knows how to utilize that space perfectly.
He's a boy in a man's body right now. North Carolina with their first lead in the game. Strickland. Kevin Strickland, the junior, averaging over 14 points a game. His first 2 of the afternoon. Lebo comes back. You can see why, Billy. North Carolina's averaging 95 points a game.
Exactly, and there's a case where Lebo was able to get away from King by moving the ball up the court real quick, and he's an excellent outside shooter.
Amateur. Reed boxing off well inside, and Nestle over the back. Martin Nestle picking up the foul. Substitution now for Duke. Quinn Snyder, number 14, will come in, and Billy King will come out of the lineup.
Now here you see Nestle trying to do the job, but J.R. Reed much quicker than Nestle on the inside, gets excellent positioning, does a good job keeping his eye on the ball. As Lebo goes up for the shot, instead of turning his head, he stayed right with it.
At 6'9", he can handle it. North Carolina by 2. All right, the week's over. Yeah.
You see a situation in the motion offense where Carolina's Curtis Hunter gets caught in a mismatch with Smith on the inside. He's going to get caught right here defensively. Berry can go over the top for an easy play. There he is. He's caught. He tries to go over the top. Berry can go right over the top. Curtis Hunter not used to low post defense.
Smith out of the lineup right now after scoring 6 of Duke's points. Right now, North Carolina by 2 as we come back in. And there's the steal by Nestle. Out comes the amateur to Kevin Strickland. And it's even again. Both these teams can get the ball up the floor. That's the 5th tie already in the early going. J.R. Reed out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Tries to follow his own shot. Instead, Strickland comes up with it.
That's the palm of the ball by Strickland. He got away with it right in front of Dean Smith, who's up off the bench, wanting to talk about it.
Berry looking inside, and Nestle goes in. A foul on Scott Williams, who's just checked in. Williams, a 6'10" freshman. Clemson remaining unbeaten, one of 5 unbeaten teams starting today, Billy.
Well, Wake Forest took Georgia Tech to the wire and lost a close one, and they had an opportunity to hit a 3-point play to win it in regulation. Tied it with a tip-in, and Clemson is a team that is not overrated, Gary. They're making a move towards the top 10.
Boy, they're 13-0, and you are looking at their schedule. They could roll through the rest of their games for a while and really mount that record up. Clemson with Cliff Ellis as their coach. Here's Danny Ferry. Ferry now has hit his last 13 free throws in a row. Now, those are the unbeaten teams.
At Club DePaul, Dallas Comegys a year ago really struggling, now playing as good as anybody in the country.
UNLV, by the way, they'll be on CBS next week from Norman against the University of Oklahoma.
Boy, Curtis Hunter got away with traveling.
Well, they've evened it up now, Billy. You said at the other end, Strickland should have a call. Here's Anselmo Smith.
Good overplay by Snyder.
Number 33, picked up by Quinn Snyder.
Good back door. Gary. Strickland normally playing guard defensively, having to shift up in this game and not in a good position defensively to overplay against Hunter.
It's even at 14. Nestle inside at 7-2 and rejected by J.R.E. That showed you some timing on that one.
He really needed one step and go for the dunk there.
More aggressive, did not pay for it. Strickland will kick it back out to Tommy Amaker. Amaker is only 1 of 4 in shooting thus far. Nestle gets it out. This will be a three-point attempt. Rebound Snyder. He can get up. Outstanding leaper. The sophomore baseline to Ferry. And Duke can't buy a basket right now. Williams on the rebound. And Kenny Smith is fouled by Danny Ferry. That was a frustration foul.
Yes, it was. Excellent pass, though, to get the ball cross-court to Danny Ferry. Duke uses that cross-court pass as well as anybody I've seen this year in basketball. That's why they're so successful shooting the three-pointer, because they go right over the defense and have the wide-open three-point play on the other side.
Changes now. Ferry comes out, coming in as a freshman by the name of Robert Brickey, number 21, out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, the North Carolina High School Player of the Year. Here is Popson is back in. Rebound. King boxed off. He saves it off to Brickey.
Brickey has excellent hands. Another real good athlete.
He has huge hands, Philly. Here is Amaker.
Now, for people who saw Duke play during the Dawkins years, they probably wonder who Tommy Amaker is, because he never looked for his shot like he is today.
Amaker now with 4. Kenny Smith off to J.R. Reed. Both teams substituting liberally here in the early going of this game. Kenny Smith. Nestle fighting for it, and Brickey stepped on the baseline. It will be North Carolina's ball.
Does that show you something about his hands? Nestle, 7'2", weighs 260, and Brickey just took the ball right away from him.
Smith will check back in now. Nestle will check out. Smith was the guy that got him going earlier, hitting 3 of his first 4 shots.
He's giving up a lot of height against Popson. He's going to get posted up inside.
Smith out to Joe Wolf. Well, they've missed this guy's all-around play. He's one of the leaders on this team, the senior. And it goes baseline. Rancino Smith tipped up. Popson over the back. They're going to wave it off. Offensive interference.
Oh, he's saying he touched that ball in the hoop.
Offensive interference. The basket will not count.
This was the walk coming on the inside by Rancino Smith. He gets by with it. Let's see if that ball was in the cylinder. Awful close. But Popson has a big advantage now. He's got about 5 inches on Brickey.
Brickey driving in.
Oh!
He gives Duke a 4-point lead. Remember, he's just a freshman. And he's come on and played so well. And Mike Krzyzewski just continues to reload here at Duke. Wolf outside to Lebo. Lebo tried to shake Amaker. Inside to Wolf. A foul. We have a foul on Quinn Snyder reaching in.
Trying to help. The pace of this game is really frantic.
Well, it's like the whole atmosphere, though, Billy. You come in here and it's frantic the minute you step into Cameron. The students, I think, precipitate a lot of that, and it's got to affect you when you're on the floor. You played here. You know what it's like.
It really is a great environment for basketball. Gary, I was talking about those three-point plays. Both of these teams like to use the three-pointer. Carolina so far this year taken 102 three-pointers, and Duke 140. Mike Krzyzewski said we would have used the three-point range shot whether they had instituted the rule or not, because he believes in it in his offense.
Joe Wolf now with 3 points. Kind of an unrated, spectacular player for this North Carolina team. Brickey comes down with it. 18-15 in favor of Duke. Inside, 12 minutes left in the first half.
And straight man-to-man. J.R. Reed trying to play a little one-man zone in there against Smith.
That was Popson hanging on to Brickey, so Dave Popson picks up the foul. That will be his 2nd foul. 3rd team foul against North Carolina. 11:42 to go. What an atmosphere. What a game. Duke, North Carolina, what a series it's been. Let's go back now to the year 1973 and 74. North Carolina playing at Duke. And Bobby Jones steals the pass with 4 seconds left and scores to give the Tar Heels a 73-71 win. This series began in 1920. North Carolina leads at 103-69, but Duke has won 3 of the last 5. 18-15 now. Smith is tough, isn't he, inside? Rebound by Billy King.
He gave J.R. Reed some of his own medicine.
Baseline, and we're going to have a baseline infraction. Smith stepped over. It'll go to North Carolina.
Billy King doing a wise thing. He's got good leadership ability. He points to the referee on a baseline and said, hey, fella, how come you didn't call it? You were closer to the play.
Thus far, Duke getting the better of it as far as the rebounding is concerned. And right now, lead by 3.
Steve Bucknall in the ball game. Had a good game against Maryland the other night.
Bucknall, a sophomore out of London, England. And it's on the floor. Reed comes out of there with it. And he's going to have 3 seconds in the lane called against him. Is he strong, Billy? When he latched onto that ball, you might as well clear out of there.
I don't agree with that 3-second call at all for the simple reason the ball had come off the boards. That referee's going to get an earful from Dean Smith about the 3-second calls and about his timing.
I don't know if they can hear him. It's the noise in here. 18-15 Duke. 11 minutes to go. First half. Snyder to Ferry. Can have a foul. Foul is going to be a charge against Snyder as he released the ball. That'll be his second.
Quinn Snyder made a great play with one exception. He went up in the air out of control. When you play against a North Carolina team, they're going to draw an awful lot of charges away from the ball. As a matter of fact, even Duke has instituted that to the point that they keep it statistically. Who is the #1 charge man on their ball club defensively? AR setting a weak screen out there. As strong as he is, he ought to knock somebody down when he sets a screen.
North Carolina is 1 for 6 in their field goal shooting here in the last few minutes. And going to have a foul called inside. Danny Ferry trying to position against Reed has picked up his second foul.
The guy got a day late dollar short on that one because Reed was setting up position on the inside. You could see him going in here, and Ferry just got hooked up, and Reed is so strong, almost lifted him off the ground.
It looked like a square dance move, didn't it?
Danny Ferry had a great summer. Made all-tournament team in the Jones Cup competition. Improved a great deal this summer. It's just a matter of playing time for him.
Reed at 6'9", weighs 245 pounds, and he's still growing. A gifted athlete. He has that power to go with finesse. He was the National High School Player of the Year last year at Virginia Beach, Virginia.
And Danny Ferry was the year before.
So it's a 1-point lead now for the Blue Devils. Amaker with Lebo trying to keep track of him.
Gary, one of the things I think both of these clubs are going to have to do in this game because of the frantic pace, neither one has been very smooth in their half-court offense. There's another example. They've got to beat this press and then pull the ball back out and start looking at what the defense is giving them.
Ranzino Smith, evidently at a slick spot, goes down. It will be a turnover against North Carolina. They're 6. That's okay. You can get hurt in a situation like that.
That's another example. There's no reason for Ranzino Smith to force the ball down the corner. Neither team has allowed themselves to get in their half-court pattern. We're not even pushing the 45-second clock at all in this game.
Well, I think, Billy, it shows again how young this Duke team is. They lost 4 starters, and, of course, Dean Smith will tell you, we're playing freshmen, too. We've got Reed, who's playing a considerable amount of time, along with Williams, and a little unsteady here.
Of course, the defense putting a lot of pressure on them, too. Strickland can make that jumper.
Here's Strickland, and look at him. Reed ripped that one down. Think maybe he's got some authority. Here's Bucknall. Out it comes Lebo. He loves that three-pointer, and there it is. Doesn't go. Bucknall inside, and he's going to be fouled. The basket, no, they're going to say he walked with the ball. Traveling on Bucknall.
There was an excellent case. We'll see Strickland going inside. He probably had the jumper there instead of taking it in traffic, but there's the two-handed Wesley Unseld type rebound. 2 hands on it. He cleans house in there.
You kind of get caught in between, don't you, when you have a Reed around. That's what happened to Strickland on that play. It was traveling on the last play by Bucknall, and here is another turnover to foul on Strickland. That's 2 on Strickland.
Neither team can get their half-court offense going. They just have to slow down. I'm surprised. Here you have Tommy Amaker and Kenny Smith, 2 of the best and most experienced point guards in the country. Surprising they don't start pulling the ball back out a little bit and slowing the pace up.
You can see Amaker, he's grabbing his shorts a little bit, too. He looks tired. Mike Krzyzewski said about him, he is the kind of guy where I start a sentence and he finishes it. In other words, they have the same mindset, the same thinking out there.
Jeff Lebo, perfect technique on the foul shot. I'm really surprised that he's not a 90% free throw shooter.
Well, it's not too bad. He's 81.
And last year, he was down under 80. It's funny that this year in the Atlantic Coast Conference, conference, the start of the season, the preseason all-conference team had 4 guards and a center. Forrest Grant from Clemson, and these two fellas going at each other right here, plus Dalrymple and Tyrone Bogue.
1-point lead now for North Carolina. Ferry. Nestle, good position, stripped to the ball. It'll be Duke's basketball. We're at one of the most amazing places you'll ever watch a college basketball game. Cameron Indoor Stadium on the campus of Duke University. An ACC battle between two clubs with 10-game winning streaks. North Carolina and Duke. 9:26 to go in the first half. I'm Gary Bender along with Billy Packer. And Lebo has been fouled. That foul is going to go on Lebo. And Duke now at the 9:26 mark with a chance to go ahead as they'll inbounds on the far side. They trail by 1.
Both teams physically ought to be good shape the second half because of the substitution pattern. That's not going to be a problem. The team that's going to win this game is the first one that's going to get a half-court offense going.
Here's Amaker. Tough shot, and he nailed it. The lead goes to Duke. Amaker with 6.
Tommy Amaker, a starter on the team that won the World Championship this summer.
You know, he and Kenny Smith were roommates over in Spain when they won that World Cup. Now playing against each other. Here is J.R. Reed. Nestle doesn't hang on.
They would see that battling on the inside. Nestle gets caught with a pick and then just says, Lebo, out of my way. Jeff will understand that he has no business setting that screen on a 260-pounder.
I was going to say, I'd pick on somebody else. Nestle's got a shiner, a black eye from the game against St. Joseph's earlier this week. Amaker hits the deck as Kenny Smith hits the three-pointer from outside. 22-20, North Carolina. Amaker would check that. Smith with 5 points. Now one of the officials, Louis Grillo, is going to do a little housekeeping. Mop it up, and we'll set it up. That's where Ranzino Smith fell down a little bit earlier. There may be some moisture down there.
And when Amaker came flying out of the pile there, he landed on his chest and got the floor wet.
Carolina by 2. 8.5 minutes to go in this first half.
Good change of pace.
Amaker, that's 2 little lead. Now he's on track. 8 points for Amaker. Tied up at 22.
Jeff Lebo, I'd like to see Billy King go away.
Joe Wolf traveled with the ball. That's 8 turnovers against the Tar Heels. Quinn Snyder will come back in. Strickland will check out. Smith comes in, and Ferry will lead for the Duke Blue Devils. Mike Krzyzewski, the ACC and National Coach of the Year, taking Duke to the runner-up position, losing to Louisville in the championship game in Dallas. King on the move, and he stepped out of bounds. Coming up on the second half of our doubleheader, most of you will see Georgetown at Pittsburgh. Or some of you will see the defending national champions Louisville against Wyoming. And Billy, a lot of people not aware of Jim Brandenburg's team out there, Wyoming.
Lufkin won the NIT last year. Got a chance to make a run in the NCAA tournament. You talk about all these high-flying teams. How about the Zips of Akron? Gave Pitt all they could handle this past week.
Ricky is checked back into the game now for Duke. Joe Wolf looked like a block. Was that King that got it?
I think it was Bricky that got a piece of it. Came all the way across the lane at 6'5".
Both he and King were there. We'll give it to Bricky.
No, I
it'll
do.
be North Carolina's
now, you can give it to the other man if you want to. I might be wrong on that one, but I think Ricky got a piece of it.
They were both over there.
Here we're going to see.
Let's look at it.
All right, the test.
It was Bricky.
Oh, me. Come on, Gary.
I tell you, Billy, you got the great eyes. Keep eating those carrots, will you? Billy, there's been a lot of controversy about the three-point shot, but the ACC used to even have it in closer in 82 and 83.
In 82, 83, for those who have better eyes than you, Gary, they wouldn't have to draw this line, but for those that can't see, this was the line. 17-9 in 82, 83, and I believe that line was one of the reasons NC State was so successful in the NCAA tournament, because they used the three-point play very effectively with Derek Wittenberg. And remember, when he was way beyond his range, and that shot came up short for Lorenzo Charles to stop it in for that big win over Houston for the national crowd.
Remember Terry Gannon shooting range, and here's Joe Wolf with a left-hand jump hook. And Wolf gives Carolina a 2-point lead. He has 5 points in the game.
And Snyder showing you a little bit of dribbling ability there. Went right by Kenny Smith.
Off to King. King moves in for the 2-point attempt and gets it. whistle that time.
Boy, it looked like John Smith came across and made a good defensive play. Dean Smith is really working up a frenzy here.
Smith with his second foul. Wolf, coming back off of that back problem, took a pretty good shot, but I'm with you, Billy. I thought it was one of those no harm, no foul. Well, it's warm in here.
Well, you know, he used to be accused back in the old Carolina Carmichael Auditorium of turning the heat up. I believe Duke's turning the tables on him a little bit. Remember what Billy Tubbs did to Georgia Tech a few years ago? You think when Vegas comes out to Oklahoma next week that he won't have that gym up at about 200 degrees?
Like a sauna down. Here is Wolf hitting the free throw, giving Carolina the 1-point lead. J.R. Reed will come back into the game. Dave Hobson will exit. 7:21 to go in this first half. Fast-paced game.
If you notice Dean Smith's substitution pattern, he has a tendency in the first half to use a lot of people, have a lot of weird combinations in the game at a given time. In the second half, he usually settles down to the lineup that he feels is most effective and goes with them for the first 10, 12 minutes of that half. Good steal.
Bucknall on the steal to Ranzino Smith. It's going to be a foul. It's going to go on Quinn Snyder. That'll be his third, so he's in foul difficulty with still over 7 minutes to go in this first half. Snyder had started the last two games for Duke, had a career high of 19 points, then came back with a 17-point game, waiting for Kevin Strickland to return.
That's a foul that really helped Duke because Carolina had an easy 2-point layup.
North Carolina, who has just been superb in free throw shooting. They've led the ACC the last 4 years. Now 9 of 10 for the day. That's one thing, Billy. When you watch Dean Smith, as you see now coming into the ball game, Abdelnaby, Ala Abdelnaby, a freshman at 6'10" who comes in. The thing about Dean Smith, they really work on the free throw shooting. And that's the reason they're so effective.
Abdelnaby was the leading player in the state of New Jersey last year. Incredible stats, 28 points a game, about 14 rebounds, 9 block shots a game. McDonald's All-American. You can see how good their program is here when he sits on the bench as a freshman.
Biggest lead of the game now for North Carolina by 4. Abdelnaby, by the way, is a native of Egypt. Driving in is King. A finger roll and a foul is going to go on J.R. Reed.
Billy King's been able to get that baseline drive. Now, North Carolina forces you to go baseline an awful lot. They just are not getting over there from the weak side like they normally do to prevent you from getting that layup.
Reed's first foul, 15 foul now against North Carolina.
As a matter of fact, normally, that is one of North Carolina's strengths. They force you to the baseline, and then they come over from the weak side and get that little trap. Everybody slides on down, so you have no pass out, and you really get caught in a bad double-team situation. Reed was a little slow getting there.
King is a very poor free throw shooter, shooting 54%. He has picked it up from a year ago when he shot only 47%. Hobson comes into the game now. Bucknall has checked out with 7 minutes to go in the first half. King used to let this free throw shooting affect the rest of his game, but Mike Krzyzewski said he's gotten over that now.
Hey, his stroke looks a lot better, Gary.
Yeah, it does.
He used to throw up some real bricks a year ago. That looked like a pretty good stroke.
28-25, Carolina. Wolf. Gets it into Hobson. Back to Joe Wolf.
Little two-man game, inside-outside. Nice playing by the two experienced seniors.
Wolf with 9 points. You can see why Dean Smith wanted him back in the lineup.
This is the toughest lineup for the matchup problems for Duke because they have 6'10", 6'10", 6'10" across that front line.
Danny Ferry goes up against Wolf. Reed rips it out of there. Up to Kenny Smith. Smith, three-point attempt. Rebound by Amaker. Maybe took a shot a little too quick there, Billy.
Yeah, I believe so, because he had Reed running down the middle.
Attempting one. Rebound by Ranzino Smith. Smith and 80 but Chapel Hill. Up to Smith. And it's not going to make the connection, and Amaker will come the other way.
Here to make the point again. Neither team settling down in their half-court offense.
Reed with the rejection. Pops it on the retrieve.
And when you do this, you have a very bad chance to get good offensive rebounds. Here we see it again. When a guy takes a shot that you're not ready for, you're very seldom in a position to go for offensive rebounds, and that's what's happening. It's one and done for both teams.
Reed is tired. He's exhausted. He has to come out. I don't know if they got his attention. Here he comes now. He couldn't track that ball down. Smith overthrew him, and he just didn't have any energy to get there.
Well, he went 90 feet 3 times in a row.
And when you weigh that, 245 pounds, that's a lot of beef, isn't it, to move up and down the floor. 5-point lead now for North Carolina.
Smith looking active inside.
And Scott Williams is checked in, number 42.
There he is.
Smith. And we have a blocking foul against North Carolina. And getting up with that foul is going to be Hunter. NFC Championship game tomorrow, Billy. The question is, can the Giants, for the third time this year, defeat the Washington Redskins? Now, I asked you a week ago who you liked. Have you thought about it in a week's time, who you were going to pick in this game?
Now, you know why? I want the Giants to win. You know why?
No.
I want to see Mayor Koch make that decision as to whether or not they have the Ticker Tape Parade. One of the toughest political decisions of all time. So my reasons are weird, but they are interesting.
I tell you what, you're not weird, Billy. Just interesting. Smith at the line. Now, Smith got inside, Billy. That's what they were doing effectively at the start of the game. Let's go back to that, maybe.
Were you ever in Hohokus, New Jersey? That's where I heard they're going to have the parade.
Where is that?
Hohokus, New Jersey.
Not familiar with that one. 3-point lead. 3-point attempt by Smith. Popson on the follow.
Dave Popson has improved with that half hook of his. He's up to about 225 now, started out in college at 185, so he's really worked to put himself in position to be an outstanding collegiate player.
Playing the best of his career. Playing smarter in the estimation of Dean Smith.
There's the scramble defense by North Carolina. 2 men jumping, 3 men playing back in a little zone.
Ferry, an excellent passer. Bricky inside, and I'll tell you, Bricky, an aggressive catch, but couldn't get the ball to go down as Scott Williams has the rebound.
That pass really wasn't for Bricky, but he actually stole it from a teammate.
Here's Scott Williams out of Heights, California, and he commits the foul over the back. Williams was the guy that UCLA wanted so badly, and when he ended up going to North Carolina, Walt Hazard, the coach of the Bruins, threatened to cancel the series with North Carolina. He was so upset that he lost this prospect.
I think Walt was just talking there. He enjoys putting it on the line. I admire him for putting his team on the line this year. He came east, played against 2 teams that everybody now recognizes as being really tough, particularly when he had to go down and play McGonigal Hall against Temple, and then went back out, and it probably hurt him in the Pac-10 because he took those 2 losses, went all the way across the country, lost to Washington State and Washington. They're back in the hunt. Well, they have a big game with Arizona today, right?
That's right. Hey, Billy, I've got a little bit of information for you here as soon as we get a chance. Smith hits a free throw. I've just been told by our producer, Bob Deacus, that a corporation has stepped forward in New York City and said they will fund a ticker tape parade in New York City. Does that impress you or what?
Well, I want to check them out real close. They have a lot of funny things going on in New York. The mayor must have got to somebody.
Smith hits them both. He has 10 points. 3-point lead for the Tar Heels. Lebo at the 100.
Lebo has not been able to get on track. He's got Amaker on him now. He'd like to shoot that jumper over him. Here he is.
He got loose that time.
Yes, sir. There's the difference between being guarded by a 6-footer and being guarded by a 6'5" man. Billy King didn't ever let Lebo get loose.
Well, that was one of the moves Krzyzewski had really sat as one of the keys of the game, was King on Lebo, the right now temperature. Here's Ferry. That'll give Danny some confidence. He's been a little frustrated in this game. 4 points for Danny Ferry.
Boy, does North Carolina fire that ball up quickly.
That is some move. J.R. Reed, what touch for a big man.
Well, you know, I've been talking about settling down the half-court offense. The other side of that coin is the defense doesn't have a chance to set up very well. In that case, Ferry just couldn't get back in time. J.R. Reed, good defense by Reed.
Great one, 2-pointer. Rebound, Popson, and there's Popson again, being effective. That time on the defensive board. Hunter. Bricky blocked it. Hunter reloads it. He's fouled by Strickland. Again, it shows you Bricky, his ability to convert back on defense. Got the block, but then the foul on Strickland.
There's Jeff Lebo with the perfect hit-ahead pass, 2-handed pass, and Bricky came from nowhere. Super athlete. Had a game in high school, state championship game, where he just dominated Charles Shackelford's team from Kinston and winning the state championship. So we can see now why he was voted the best player in the state of North Carolina a year ago.
That foul on Strickland with his 3rd. Hunter now with 5 points in the game to go with 3 rebounds.
Curtis, of course, from Durham, North Carolina.
Well, he was the North Carolina Player of the Year, too, when he was a senior.
Yes, he was, and many people thought he'd go to Duke. But there was more opportunity to play at the time, but he chose to go 8 miles down the road.
Well, he's been hurt a lot. It certainly hindered his progress, but now starting, and this is senior year. 37-31 in favor of Carolina. 3:17 to go in the first half.
Trying to get loose. He didn't come to meet the ball.
Good defense by Hunter on that play. 9 turnovers against Duke.
There's JR, and look at, he wants that position. I think Ferry was lucky on that play. He made the contact initially, and JR's Powers just brushed him aside.
That's 2 fouls on Reed. Earlier, you remember, Ferry had a similar play and a foul called on him.
Now we're going to see JR's got position. There's Ferry.
Oh.
Ferry's coming over and creating the problem. Then JR's strength just moved him aside. JR learned in time just to fall down. You know, fake a few of those. He's just so strong.
You'll have to fake it as big as he is. But that shows you Reed, a freshman, not being intimidated by anybody in this game. Foul on JR is second. At the line now with a 1-and-1. It's Ferry. Ferry came into this game. He had hit his last 12 free throws in a row. He had his first 19 of the year. And for the season, shooting 89% from the line. You know his dad, Bob Ferry, probably spent a few hours with him on that free throw line.
There's JR, another one of those unsold rebounds.
37-32 Carolina. Williams inside, and he is fouled. Scott Williams, a lot of people, Billy, think he could be a very similar player to Brad Daugherty, kind of physically built the same way.
I think he's a better athlete than Brad Daugherty. John Thompson really was impressed with him at the National Sports Festival and felt that he was as impressive a young big player that he had seen, and really, you know what John's looking at those young guys for that Olympic team. He may progress well enough to be in that position. We'll just have to see. He has not had the playing time so far to show that he's of that caliber.
Many people felt he was the best prospect on the West Coast. He misses both free throws, however. 5-point lead now for Carolina. Inside 3 minutes to go in the first half.
Great crossover dribble by Tommy Hamilton. There's JR.
Reed, and half of it is claimed by Ferry, and it will go to Duke on the alternating hell ball rule. We're going to have a break. 2:43 to go. Typical ACC basketball with North Carolina leading. Standing by in Pittsburgh is Jim Nance. He'll be here with the halftime, the college basketball report. Let's see what's happening.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. We are in Pittsburgh, and coming up on the college basketball report, we'll have the latest on David Robinson of Navy. We'll also examine the problems at Louisville. A year ago, they won the national championship, the Cardinals did. Now they're struggling to stay above 500. We'll also go out to Indiana to meet one of the most sought-after high school basketball players in the country. He's only in the 9th grade. That's coming up on the college basketball report. Right now, let's go back to Gary and Billy.
Jim, thank you. We have 2:43 left here. Billy, you know that player they're talking about, Damon Bailey, didn't Bobby Knight go see him when he was in 7th grade?
Now, Bobby probably want to go down there and check out a fishing hole. You don't go see players in the 7th grade unless you had some other reason. But I have talked to Bob Hamill, who's the outstanding writer from Bloomington and really is one of the real true basketball experts in the country. He has seen that young man play, and he says it's everything they're talking about. I hate to see the pressure put on a young player, though, in the 9th grade to talk to him about what he's going to be on the collegiate level. It's a little bit too early to put that kind of pressure.
Kind of hard to project, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lebo with his second foul. Bricky goes to the line. 2:37 to go now in this first half. Rebound by Wolf.
Duke is not a good free throw shooting team. It could get them in some trouble as aggressively as they play because they're going to go to that line.
Shooting under 70% for the season.
Of course, last year when they had Allery and Dawkins and Amaker, they had 3 great free throw shooters, so that really helped them.
McNall tried to duck inside. Lebo, this is the first time they've taken a shot in a hurry. Here is Joe Wolf. Rebound by Amaker. The consummate point guard.
Mike Krzyzewski made a good point the other day. He said in this game there'll be a lot of wide rebounds.
Oh,
ball rebounds, meaning that the game is going to spread out. Therefore, quickness is going to prevail. That's why a guy like Amaker could slide in and pick that one off. As the three-point play is used more and more in college basketball, you will see the quick rebounding teams have an advantage over those tall ones that just want to stand around.
That was a costly foul. Danny Ferry called for pushing off. That's his third foul. He comes out of the game. John Smith checks in. So Ferry will sit out the remainder of the 1:50 to go in this first half.
J.R. Reed wants the ball inside. He thinks he can outmaneuver Nestle. Let's see if he tries to go by him.
Duke has 3 players with 3 fouls. Ferry, Strickland, and Snyder.
J.R. would like to go by him. He can smell it out. There he goes. There he goes.
He can handle the ball. 6'9" guy. Yeah, he the rebound.
He can smell that he can go by Nestle and take advantage of his quickness. And what's tough for Nestle now, he's going to be called on to play a lot of minutes.
Dean ducks in.
Dean Smith has to be upset with that play. He wants him down that baseline to get the double team.
Blocking foul on Billy King, and the crowd here, this Duke partisan crowd didn't like that. That's King's first foul. Ranzino Smith driving in his foul. Have you ever seen a more creative crowd than you hear here in Cameron Indoor Stadium?
That's an excellent call. King didn't get there in time. Ranzino Smith had him beat. I don't think I've ever seen anybody go baseline as effectively as King has been able to do today against the North Carolina defense. He's beaten them about 3 or 4 times, hasn't converted them all, but he's gotten in there.
North Carolina's missed their last 3 free throws, as Smith now converts. Ranzino Smith. What a competitor he is. He's like a little dynamo. Shoots over 70%, 73 for the year, and he converts both of those.
You want those backcourt players that can make that free throw shot.
That's what hurt Kansas, Billy, with Cedric Hunter.
Cedric Hunter the other night was in a situation where he had a chance to ice the game, missed the free throw. Fortunately for Kansas, the ball bounded out against a very tough Temple team. This is a great year for Philadelphia basketball. St. Joe's, Temple, LaSalle, and Villanova, all possible NCAA tournament type teams.
Krzyzewski really impressed with St. Joe. There is John Smith.
Oh, he's showing a little range on that jump shot.
12 points for Smith.
Now we have a little hold up here. Billy King and Ranzino Smith going after each other a little bit.
What a unique rivalry. 2 schools, 8 miles apart.
You know, the kids know each other real well here, too, because, you know, when it comes dating time, they're going to the same hangouts, plus all the newspaper coverage. Friends that go to various schools, and there's a charge.
Kenny Smith, Amaker drawing the charge. That's the first on Smith.
That's some super defense. When you can draw a charge on Kenny Smith on one-on-one defense, you have really pulled a play. Smith has that explosive quickness, and Amaker was able to move his feet just well enough to hang in there.
Might be as good a defensive guard as are in the country. Tommy Amaker picking up the charge. Now a chance to cut it to 1, maybe tie it up if they get hit the three-pointer with 44 seconds. Into Nestle.
Nice speed.
He's got to put it away with authority. There he goes.
Nestle's trying to be a little cute in there, Gary.
Yep, he
You're
is.
exactly correct. He needs to go and put it right up in the basket. Big comeback, and these fans are crazy now.
1-point lead for Carolina traveling.
5 seconds.
Traveling. No, it was Scott Williams. I saw on the far side. Hausman, the official, called traveling, and it is. And look at this crowd. Duke with a chance to take the lead.
What do you think the kids at Duke do with the money their parents send them for clothes? I've never seen anybody here wear anything other than an old beat-up sweatshirt. Think they ever dress up?
You see the time left in the first half. Duke with a chance to take the halftime lead.
Scott Williams on Amaker. They ought to try to get Amaker the ball because he can take Williams.
They have to make something happen now. 3, 2, 1. They need to shoot it, and they didn't get a shot off. They did not get a shot off.
That's why they wanted the ball in Amaker's hands, Gary.
And so we've come to the end of the first half. North Carolina 39, Duke 38. Coming up next, the college basketball report with Jim Nance standing by in Pittsburgh with the latest news on David Robinson, and also look at what's wrong with Louisville after this message and a word from your local station.
This is KTVQ Billings, the news station.
CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game is sponsored by Michelob Light, superb taste and less filling beer. The U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be. And by Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of the full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi. Halfway point, North Carolina leading Duke 39-38. We've talked about the uniqueness of the Cameron Indoor Stadium. Creative they are. It's the kind of intimidation that a lot of clubs come in here, and I'm sure it just tears them apart. But at the halfway point, despite all of that, North Carolina's held somewhat of their poise, Billy. Really, you made a good point. They really haven't, neither team, gotten into the kind of game they want to get into.
Well, they both pushed the ball up the floor very rapidly, and therefore they're going to get some easy shots. But neither team has been able to go ahead and vary that by pushing it up. If you don't have it, bring it back out, get into some semblance of a half-court offense. And my prediction is the team that can do that first in this ball game is the team that'll get that 6 to 8 point run in which they get control of the ball game.
What about field goal percentages? What do these figures show you? They're very equal, obviously.
Well, North Carolina is a team that traditionally will shoot over 52, 53%. Duke is a team that holds clubs down under 43%. So they've got Carolina kind of where they want them right there. I think the shot selection from Carolina has put them in some trouble.
This is a real concern for Mike Krzyzewski. Ferry with 3, Snyder with 3, and Strickland with 3.
Well, he'd rather they have 2 than 3, but he's got a deep team. He uses a lot of people, and I would say maybe Ferry's is important here, but he can go without them.
Mike Krzyzewski's team has won 22 in a row here. Last lost was in '85 to these Tar Heels. Dean Smith, his new assistant there in the background, the gray-haired gentleman, Dick Harp, who coached the University of Kansas in 1957 when they lost to North Carolina in triple overtime. Remember that game, Billy?
Yes, I do. I've seen that film a number of times. Sure, you know, we had that Bobby Jones play where they went back into the memories when Duke thought they had a chance for the upset, went for the basket, went for the long play, and had it intercepted. The strangest Duke-Carolina game I ever saw was a game over at Chapel Hill where Duke had a team, big underdog, had an 8-point lead with 18 seconds to go and eventually lost the game. One of the big turnarounds, if not the biggest turnaround, maybe in college history in terms of that few seconds and that many points.
Kenny Smith, along with Hopson, Lebo, Wolf, and Hunter, the same 5 that opened the ball game. Up it comes to Smith, who had 12 points, now with 14. High man on the floor, and Duke has the lead.
Billy King made that play by being patient on the break. Good running by Smith.
Here's Wolf, who led North Carolina in the first half with 9. Another ball thrown away. Billy, you see that every once in a while. That's not North Carolina's type of play.
Well, Joe Wolf, with the bad back, has missed the game and, of course, missed some practice time. That was just a timing play.
In the first half, 13 turnovers by North Carolina. 40-39 Duke. Ferry has the open shot.
He has range to step out and shoot it.
Got to respect him, don't they? 7 points. Start of the second half, getting their first lead since 10:43 of the first half was Duke, so they've come back to start very effectively in the second half.
Lebo trying to get on track against Billy King, but King staying right with him.
That's a 3-pointer by Kenny Smith. Hunter on the rebound. Pass Popson, and he's fouled by Billy King.
Saved an easy basket. You know, everybody talked the three-point line is too short and such an easy shot to make, but here you see tenacious defense pushing the offense out, and so far these two teams are 1 for 9 from the three-point line. It is not an easy shot if you're played well defensively.
That was the second foul on King. 42-39. Duke. Joe Wolf trying to shake John Smith. Lebo, who's been relatively quiet in this game, on the move. He'll get 2 there.
There was a case on the switch. He wasn't matched up with Billy King. He enjoyed that one.
8 points for Lebo. Back to a 1-point lead for the Blue Devils.
Well, for young players to watch Amaker and Smith and see how valuable it is to be able to use both hands on that dribble.
Barry again has the open shot. That's twice he's gotten open. He now has 9 points. 44-41 Duke. Reach around by Ferry. King has the ball.
Hey, how about that play? And that ought to count. Let's see.
They're going to call a charge.
Mike Krzyzewski can't believe it. Super maneuver by Billy King. I don't believe they were squared up on him at all. That layup should have counted. Hobson's not close to being squared up to Billy King. He's moving right over and underneath him. Big lucky play that time for Carolina. Joe Wolf seems not only tired, but it looks like he's walking a little funny.
Yeah, I thought that too when you were talking about his back earlier,
I
Billy.
think that back's giving him some trouble, but he's a warrior. He wants to stay out there.
Well, what happens? You lose the 2 points, but you also now have King in foul trouble. That's his 3rd foul. 4 of the Duke Blue Devils now with 3 fouls.
Here comes that lineup that really helps out North Carolina with J.R. Reed and the other 2 big fellows in the front line. J.R. can handle that ball
Is
for a
that
big guy.
something for a 6'9" guy? I think he thinks he's a guard.
That's the second time in this half that Joe Wolf has not moved to the ball quickly to catch the pass. It allows the defender to get right around in front of him. He's just not as quick as he normally is.
Well, I was watching him run. He looks like he's a little bit of pain right now, the way he's moving. In it goes to Hobson. Rebound Smith is stuck. And the alternating hell ball is going to go to the Duke Blue Devils. You don't see that happen very often, do you?
You know, in watching Joe Wolf, and I know how Dean Smith wants to keep this lineup together, but it might not be bad to get him out of there because he looks like he's in some pain. He is really slowing down as this half goes.
He went after it, but he didn't bend over very much, and he has committed the foul. That's the first on Joe Wolf. There's the foul difficulty. King just picking up his 3rd a moment ago. And as you mentioned, Billy, you talk about a big turnaround. You had to break down the floor for 2 instead to get King in foul trouble.
And lose the 2 points.
Yep. 44-41. Smith, good second effort, blocked by Thompson. It's going to be off of Duke.
Nice job by Popson just to keep his hands up in the air and not try to come down with a chopping motion.
That's the new Dave Popson. He didn't used to do that. He wasn't that aggressive. Much more aggressive now. Here's Wolf on the drive. A little bit off balance on the shot. Ferry is fouled from behind, and Wolf has picked up his 2nd.
There again, it's just a matter of quickness. He's a far cry from his normal position in the game.
You wonder how long he can go with Joe. That back will probably could sit down, Billy, to get worse. You're probably afraid to take him out of there.
You see Dean Smith walking up with Bucknell. Don't be surprised to see if he doesn't come out right away.
44-41. Duke. 16-15 to go in the game.
Good defense by Kenny Smith. He anticipated the turnaround.
Strickland. That's a tough shot fading to the baseline. Reed with the rebound.
Take that ball away from him.
Well, he's had the tendency, Billy, to come out of there on a break, and Dean Smith tried to keep him from doing that. He's dribbling the ball. Pops and misses. Kenny Smith. Smith is just not shooting well.
He's had a feast or famine year.
Here's the three-pointer by Strickland, air ball, and Kenny Smith got it.
Kevin Strickland did not have his feet set for that shot.
Here's Smith again at the other end. It just won't go for the senior. Reed. And he's fouled.
Well, Gary, although we're talking about outstanding college players, I don't care how good you are, if you're not going to set your feet and square up to that basket, that jumper is not going to have a good touch. And that's what's happening right now. There's Joe Wolf coming out of the ball game. So Steve Alford last week, who probably is fundamentally as sound a shooter as you could ever want to be, he was squaring up against Ohio State going down the stretch. And in one play in particular I can remember, he was in a deep corner shooting against his body, but his feet were so solid. And that's what we're not seeing right now by some of these shooters.
You can see how Carolina is struggling from the field. 1 of 7 in the second half. 2 free throws for Reed.
Gary, do you know where J.R. was the night of the national championship between Louisville and Duke last year? Figure he was at home watching a TV set. He said he didn't watch the game. He was at a birthday party. Kind of unusual.
That is unusual. That cut it to 1. Reed hitting both makes it 44-43 Duke. A little pressure now by North Carolina. Hammaker, baseline Nestle. He's fouled by Lebo. 3rd foul on Lebo. You can see the black eye on the left eye of Nestle from the St. Joe's game if you get a close-up of it.
Gary, you pointed out very well early in the game that Martin Nestle was taking the ball up soft, and there's another example of that. He's got to concentrate when he gets in that tight to use those 260 pounds to take the defender with him.
He has 2 points, 3 rebounds as he comes to the line, and here comes Ricky back in. Strickland will come out. Martin Nestle out of Whitehall, Ohio. He was a prep All-American there. They call him the human truck stop. He's so big. And he got it. He's shooting this year only 62% from the line.
He's under a dietitian's care to keep that weight down, and that's what brought on injuries in the opinion of Mike Krzyzewski.
2-point lead for Duke. And the other Smith able in because Kenny Smith is only 2 of 8 from the field in this game, but Ranzino hit that one and tied it up.
Here's Ranzino trying to force Amaker to go baseline to get some help down there.
We have our 10th tie of this game. Good defense by Lebo. Billy King in traffic. Out to Amaker.
The difference of being squared up with your feet. Good job by Amaker.
He's in double figures now with 10 points. Duke back to a 2-point lead. Bucknall, he traveled with it.
I believe he came to a pretty good jump stop on that play.
17 turnovers by North Carolina. Duke at home, leading by 2.
Should you ever drive from Paris to Dakar, we'd suggest a Mitsubishi Montero. Montero's won the Paris to Dakar rally 4 years straight, so it knows the shortcuts. But should you stay closer to home, you can still enjoy Montero's 2.6 liters, the independence of 4-wheel drive, and the crafting of its civilized interior. Because you don't need a road rally to enjoy Montero, just an impulsive imagination. Mitsubishi.
Madeline Kahn on Having It All.
What is this fascination we have with having it all? Haven't you ever wanted it all? Just a tiny bit. Michelob Light has it all. Superb taste in a less filling beer. But is having it all the answer? Is it really so wonderful to be wealthy, glamorous, and have an unbelievable singing voice? Yes!
Michelob Light, you can have it all. Apache. There's nothing hotter in the air or on the ground for Jack Holt, Army crew chief.
The Apache's got advanced everything, like a TV for target acquisition. The gunner aims just by moving his head. Talk about hot. This bird can make tracks at 200 miles an hour. Now that's cool. No, that's hot.
Have conquered. Now they must face the Giants, the big blue wrecking crew. The NFC Championship, tomorrow on CBS Sports.
Back at Cameron in Durham, North Carolina. Gary Bender, Billy Packer. 15-10 to go. Duke by 2. They have the basketball. Bucknall picking up Billy King. Barry with good defensive pressure from Dave Popson. It's going to be a foul on Popson. That's his 3rd personal foul. Ferry playing much more effectively in the second half.
Gary, it's really nice to have a 6'10" guy that can step out at the top of the key and make a play. You can see how well North Carolina had to respect their own man when he was out there with the ball, because they know he'll hit the wide open man with a good pass. As you said, the leading assist man for Duke, kind of like Danny Manning in Kansas. When he steps out, you really have to play him well. He shocked me the other night in the game against Temple when he took that 3-pointer and had it hit the front of the rim up and in. I'm sure it probably shocked Larry Brown a little bit too.
Well, I tell you what, Danny Ferry comes from that rich basketball tradition. His dad, the general manager of the Washington Bullets. This guy, Lebo, his dad was
nice pass!
Up to Amaker.
Big time play.
By the Blue Devils. Kenny the game for Duke.
Okay, Kenny Smith has got to get back in this lineup for North Carolina now. They seem to be a little rattled.
Backnall picked up aggressively by Bricky. Dean Smith trying to get him to rotate it around.
See, there's nobody really running the offense now.
Well, you've got a sophomore and a junior, and this sophomore running the team as Lebo hits it. He has 10 points.
Kenny Smith just got up off the bench.
Yeah, I think maybe they heard you, Billy.
Yeah.
Duke by 3. Barry playing a lot more confidence in the second half. Amaker, nice move to shake loose. Rebound, Ranzino Smith.
Good block out by Ranzino Smith because he had Bricky right behind him.
Model Smith on the floor. Lebo doesn't get it. Amaker, there's that rebound you're talking about that comes outside. He's going to take it. Charges.
Oh, I don't believe that call. I do not believe that call. That's 2 of them. There is no way this is a charge. No way. Ranzino Smith wasn't even there yet when Amaker left the ground.
Amaker's shaken up on this, Billy. Hit his hip when he came down.
Tommy Amaker left the ground long before Ranzino Smith got over in position.
Well, that's 2 of them now. Earlier, Billy King had one called on him, and now Tommy Amaker. Krzyzewski's hot.
Well, he's saying that's 4 points you cost me.
That was Amaker's second foul. 13:26 to go.
Joe Wolf back in the out. Let's see how he maneuvers now, sitting on that bench with that back tightened up at all.
Ranzino Smith, and that's going to be a foul on Bricky. Bricky tangled up with him. Got his feet locked up. That'll be Bricky's second foul of the game. 15 foul against the Duke Blue Devils. 50-47 in favor of Duke. Amaker's coming out, Billy, and he's limping. He's in pain. When he hit the floor, you can see holding his backside there. He's in real pain, and they're going to look him over.
Well, this could really hurt Duke because you want him on the floor at this time. Now, this means Quinn Snyder has got to be the guy that's going to be called upon to do most of the ball handling.
Snyder has played in place of Strickland, but it's a different situation replacing Strickland, right?
When he goes in for Strickland, he goes in at the shooting guard, the second guard. Now he's going to have to go in as the ball handler.
Amaker comes out with 12 points. 50-47 Duke. Kenny Smith blocked by Snyder, and Bucknall is fouled. Martin Nestle got a piece of it. Well, that shows you the jumping ability of Snyder. 13:08 to go here at the Cameron Indoor Stadium on Duke University's campus. An ACC battle between 2 clubs with 10-game winning streaks. And right now, Duke leads it by 3, 50-47. I'm Gary Bender along with Billy Packer as Steve Bucknall, sophomore from London, England, will shoot a free throw. He'll shoot 2. Substitution, Bricky comes out of the ball game.
You know, Gary, winning a game in a tight conference like this on the road can be very valuable, obviously, in the conference standing. Watching the SEC this year, it's been incredible how the visitor has been able to win. Kentucky beaten twice at home. Alabama beaten. Auburn beaten. Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, all have been beaten on the road, at home court.
Dive by King. Billy King was 7. Joe Wolf with a double pump on Smith. He got it, and he's fouled by Smith.
That's a great shot by Joe Wolf. He's really good down around that baseline anyway.
He doesn't do anything spectacular, does he, Billy? He just does it well, that being Joe Wolf. Chance now for a 3-point play.
I'd say Joe Wolf's probably a first-round draft choice, late in the first round. How many teams can afford to have a guy miss a game that's a first-round draft choice and not be hurt?
He nails that. Wolf, as Dean Smith said, we depend on it.
His brother, of course, played for the University of North Carolina. Had another brother played college basketball also.
Brother was Jeff. There's a traveling call on Duke. That was Wolf that precipitated that. Joe Wolf did a good job. Near the conclusion of today's CBS Sports NCAA basketball broadcast, Billy Packer and I will be selecting a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the Game from each team. And Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. 12:39 to go. Duke leads it by 2.
Hey, what's happening here? This guy checking me out? Or my Volkswagen? Guess he wants to see what this new Golf GT can do. All right, mystery man. Let me show you how I go from here to Mother's without missing a beat. Men, they never stick around.
Back when this old tractor and I were kids, Pennzoil came in a can, and 5W30 and 10W30 motor oils didn't even exist. Now, they are recommended not only by GM, Ford, and Chrysler, but by Nissan, Toyota, and Honda for their small engines. Use Pennzoil 5W30 for winter, 10W30 for summer. For small engine protection, my old pal and I recommend it. Pennzoil, the standard of protection since 1889.
Who says you can't have old world taste and a new world waste? Old world aging and the new world's youthful spirit. Europe's finest hops in America's finest light beer. Michelob Light, old world quality from Anheuser-Busch. Michelob Light, the best of both worlds.
Michelob Light, oh yes you can have it all.
Here we're going to see some great defense by Amaker and Danny Ferry. Ferry's going to come out in the overplay situation, cut off the ball, and then Amaker's going to release. Ferry's going to hit him with a pass down the court.
All right, we come back with 12:39 to go. North Carolina inbound. Branzino Smith, Wolf, J.R. Reed, Kenny Smith, who is 2 of 9 from the field, missed his last 5 shots is in the game, along with Bucknall. 52-50 Duke.
You don't want to pick up your dribble out there as well as Duke overplays. Again, picking up the dribble will cost you a lot of problems.
Branzino Smith into Joe Wolf. Well, bad back and all, he has really had some meaningful minutes in this game. He has 14 points now. He's tied it up.
You know, actually, Gary, he's running better now after he sat down for a little bit. Here comes that double team. Beautiful pass.
Ferry to Strickland. Back to Ferry. And we're going to have a foul against North Carolina. But what a beautiful job of reacting against the trap.
Well, a super pass on the inside. Smith goes up, just misjudges his distance. Danny Ferry makes a nice pass. Good reaction by Joe Wolf to get back and help with Bucknell. Excellent hustle by North Carolina. Good passing by Duke, and Ferry goes to that line.
What do you tell a guy, Billy, John Smith, when he misses a dunk like that?
Well, the effort was there. He just miscalculated. Coaches get upset if effort is not involved with the play. You can't fault a guy who makes a play if he really is trying as hard as Smith was.
Good point. Well, they get one of the two. It's a 1-point lead for Duke. Kenny Smith committed that last foul as second. Steal by King. There's the defensive specialist for the Blue Devils. Ferry, drop step out to Strickland, three-pointer.
Excellent positioning with his feet, and again, Duke, who likes to use that three-point play going cross-court.
You think Ferry doesn't see that open man? Excellent selection of his passing.
Oh, nice backdoor.
That was Thompson with the assist. Wolf with 16 points.
Danny Ferry has to open up on that. Excellent play, two-man play. There's North Carolina with their trap.
Kenny Smith on the steal. King is there. He lets him go. He had 3 fouls, and he decided to lay off of him and let him go.
Every time I see Kenny Smith going for a breakaway, I think of the LSU game where he got hit and went down and probably knocked North Carolina of another trip to the Final Four when he injured that wrist.
12th tie of the game at 56. 10:43 to go. Ferry moving it on Wolf. Look at him throw the ball around. He always spots those guys on the wing area, doesn't he, Billy? Out it comes, and a foul on Ferry trying to reach in. And now that's his fourth.
Now, there's a case where North Carolina's double teams in the corner getting Billy King in trouble. If you're going to go over there, you've got to go all the way to the basket, as King has, and not pick up that dribble.
Now, Amaker comes in. He has a bruised back, but able to continue, obviously, as he comes into the game. Georgetown, Pittsburgh coming up next. John Thompson against the new coach Paul Evans, or some of you will see the game from Laramie. The Cowboys of Wyoming against the defending NCAA champions Louisville. 10:32 left in the game. It's deadlocked at 56. With 7 points is Kenny Smith, who's been struggling. Interestingly enough, Billy, he does not have an assist in this game.
Which is really interesting because both Kenny Smith and Tommy Amaker have over 600 assists in their career. Only 2 other guys in the history of this league, Phil Ford and Sidney Lowe, have over 600 assists.
Duke thinking he traveled with the ball. No whistle. Curtis Hunter on the rebound. He'll reload it. Out it comes to Kenny Smith. Here's Scott Williams, who's checked in.
There are going to be some sore bodies when this game's over, boy.
Non-contact sport, right? Curtis Hunter changed his shot. Ricky was there, and a follow inside by Scott Williams. Well, that's getting some help for the bench, isn't it? North Carolina by 2.
Good overplay by Lebo. Almost picked that one off.
Into Nestle, rather. Martin Nestle can't get it. Ricky comes up with it. Ricky keeps it alive. Lebo's out of there with it. He almost lost the handle, and he did. He traveled with it. Dragged his feet before he could get rid of the basketball.
Well, if you're going to score over 95 points a game, you are going to turn the ball over some. The selection of the pass was good. It just couldn't execute it. Danny Ferry picking up his 4th.
So Ferry on the bench, as you see coming in now, John Smith. He was out there for a brief time, as Billy King will sit down for a while. 58-56 North Carolina, 9.5 minutes to go in the game.
Shows you how valuable Martin Nestle is to this ball club. With Ferry out of there in foul trouble, you've got a man who can go in and give you that 8 or 10 minutes. And for the first time today, Carolina goes in a 1-3-1 zone.
Snyder tried a three-pointer that time. Lee ball on the rebound. There's Amaker trying to steal. Kenny Smith with three-pointer.
Oh, big shot.
For a guy that hasn't been shooting well, he took a courageous shot there.
Here's a strong timeout by Mike Krzyzewski. He realized that defense changed. He's got to get his club organized.
And so the score at the 9:19 mark, 61-56. North Carolina will return to Cameron Indoor Stadium after this word from your local station.
This is CBS.
Injuries don't always happen during doctor's office hours, but at the Doctor's Walk-In Clinic, you don't have to wait for prompt medical attention. See the doctor and be on your way. For sports or on-the-job injuries, colds and flu, blood sugar, cholesterol, pregnancy tests, or x-rays, whether you walk in like this or like this. Remember the Doctor's Walk-In Clinic, open till 8, 7 days a week. Conveniently located medical care when you need it.
You've got a lot going for you at Salover Honda today. Our first Honda hatchback sale. Save over $1,000 on selected new 1987 Honda hatchbacks. Save on Accord, Civic, CRX. And check out all the Hondas on our lot today. The largest selection in Salover Honda's history. Lease it, buy it, save today at Salover Honda's hatchback sale. Honda, #1 in customer satisfaction. Salover Honda, downtown Billings, 1830 4th Avenue North.
CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game is sponsored by Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil. The 1987 German-engineered Volkswagens and your Volkswagen dealers. And by Atra Plus from Gillette, the essence of shaving. North Carolina with 9 unanswered points. Now with a 61-56 lead at the 9:19 mark. Some pressure now by the Tar Heels as Quinn Snyder will bring it up.
You notice, Gary, Duke set up in the same kind of out-of-bounds play as if they were going in the other direction that time, knowing they're going to face North Carolina's press.
Amaker misses. Martin Nestle is fouled by Scott Williams. That's the third foul on Scott Williams.
Nestle doing the job in there for the couple of minutes he's asked to play.
It's not pretty, is it, Billy, but it can be fairly effective.
Well, he's a big body. He takes up a lot of room. And he has been pretty effective going to the foul line in recent games.
Williams sits down. J.R. Reed comes in. Williams with the third foul. Nestle at the line. 3 points, 1 of 2 from the stripe thus far. Boy, that three-point play, remember that one, Billy. That could have been a big, big point. A big play basket in this basketball game.
Well, we've had 2 situations where they've taken the ball the length of the court. Got called for charging. When it went in there, they would have also been on the line.
Yep. 61-57. Less than 9 to go now. Good ball movement now by the Tar Heels. Lebo looked like he wanted a three-pointer. Amaker had a handle on it.
See, there's still 20 seconds to go in the 45-second shot clock. No reason to give up.
Hobson missed the follow, and Nestle comes out of there. Big rebound for Duke. Boy, they missed a golden opportunity on that follow by Popson inside.
Oh, great defense by Kenny Smith. Pushed off by Amaker.
John Smith, I don't think he expected that pass, but he got it.
The reason I don't think he expected it, I don't think it was thrown to him. He kind of intercepted it.
Smith with 16. 2-point lead now for the Tar Heels. John Smith, the basket will count. Smith picks up the foul, his fourth. Now coming in is Strickland along with King. Coming out will be Bricky and Snyder for Duke. Also now, Ferry will come back in, playing with 4 fouls. At the 7:59 mark, John Smith will lead because he has 4 fouls.
For all the players bending over, grabbing their pants that are out on this court right now, they are whipped. The defensive intensity of this game going man-to-man, head-to-head against a quick athlete, taking a lot out of both teams.
And it's hot here, and, of course, the enthusiasm surrounding him here in Cameron. Pat Popson completes the three-point play. He goes out now, and Joe Wolf replaces him. Big three-point play. Won by Smith and now by Popson. 64-59, the Tar Heels. Oh, Amaker threw it away.
Jerry, you know what happened to him there? The official was running down the court. Amaker saw the body moving down the sidelines, threw the ball towards the official. The old Freddie Brown play.
Oh, I was just thinking that very same thing.
Saw a man out of the side of his eyes, and it wasn't one of his teammates.
It was James Worthy. They signed Kenny Smith, and now North Carolina starting to move out. A 7-point lead, 12 points for Kenny Smith. Biggest lead of the game for the Tar Heels.
And they come back into their zone defense. Open up some opportunities for three-point shots.
There it is.
That's one of the disadvantages to go in zone now with a three-point play. Gives a guy like Strickland, Amaker, all of which are pretty good three-point play opportunities. People, and Quinn Snyder, if he gets in the ballgame.
Well, his catch-up possibilities are heightened, aren't they, those three-pointers?
Sure.
4-point lead now by North Carolina. Less than 7 to go in the game. Lebo, Kenny Smith from 3. Rebound, Amaker. 2-on-2 fast break. Amaker and Smith. Amaker, he got it. Points now for Amaker. Was that some athleticism, Billy? J.R. Reed. Too hard. Duke with a chance to tie it.
That's a good shot by J.R. He had a good offensive move. Just didn't go for it. And North Carolina, sensing that zone not working, they go back to their man-to-man.
66-64. And Strickland is fouled by Jeff Lebo.
Lebo having a hard time matching up with Strickland.
That's 4 now on Jeff Lebo.
Now, Dean Smith's probably going to have to go with Ranzino Smith in that case. Here comes Ranzino Smith.
Popson also coming in. Hunter will lead. You mentioned Ranzino for the other Smith, Kenny.
That surprises me. I thought that Kenny Smith would be staying in and Lebo with the 4 fouls would come out.
Two shots now.
Kenny Smith on a pretty good run there.
Strickland can tie it up from the line.
As a sophomore and a freshman, Strickland was highly recruited. He came in and kind of one of those fellas that felt he wasn't getting enough playing time. There were some rumors that he'd transfer out of here. He bided his time, and now, of course, he's an integral part of this team.
And he has tied it up. Duke now with 7 unanswered points. They've come back to tie it.
Critical thing here is to make sure you have good shot selection.
Lebo partially blocked. Smith on the rebound.
And you want to get everybody in your offense, not try to do it one-on-one.
And North Carolina's 7-point lead evaporated, didn't it? It's deadlocked now. And it started with that three-pointer with Strickland.
That's smart. Billy King pulls it back out, get into the offense. Don't take bad shots the rest of the way.
5:37 left in the game. Amateur with Lebo. He'll try a three-pointer. Reed with the rebound.
JR is both powerful and quick.
Did he get out there?
Some combination. Get out there and grab that.
Lebo getting up to Joe Wolf, and Wolf with ice water. Shot that one through. 18 points for the veteran. 68-66 North Carolina.
Kind of surprised Lebo was able to penetrate that easily.
Maybe some tired people out there can't stop it.
Well, Kenny Smith getting that little rest right now. The D. Smith wants him in there for that last 3-minute push.
Mary with Wolf a hand in the face.
That's not the shot that Duke wants.
That was a tough shot. Wolf looks very tired as he goes back offensively. Lebo backing in against Amaker. Reed will bring it up. 4.5 minutes to go. Baseline Wolf.
Beautiful passing by North Carolina.
That's where that experience really pays off. Wolf is down the stretch. Really played well.
Well, there's an example. Not taking the bad shot as Ferry rushed it outside the offense. North Carolina stayed with their offense.
So North Carolina has taken a 4-point advantage.
The great American face. Rugged. Distinctive. Every one an original. Deserving of the best. The great American razor. Classic. Solid. Perfectly balanced. It's the Atra system from Gillette. Original Atra pivots for closeness, and Atra Plus adds a white Luber-Smooth strip for extra protection. The great American face deserves the great American shave. The Atra shaving system, only from Gillette. The essence of shaving.
You know, this Jetta handles really great. Volkswagen's patented rear axle constantly corrects itself. I love it. No gizmos, no gadgets. Form follows function. Everything is there for a reason.
I can't believe the price of some of these German-engineered cars.
Anyone can design an expensive road car, but to design an affordable one.
Best part about my Volkswagen Jetta? It's just fun.
Yeah, we like to have fun.
There's a time to think about life insurance, and State Farm is there.
I'm State Farm agent Mike Callen. The biggest reasons young parents start thinking about life insurance are kids. Parents want someone who can explain life insurance and someone who knows how to listen too, so it'll fit their needs. And as a family's needs grow and change, they want someone who will be there to keep that life insurance up to date. That's why they come to State Farm agents.
And like a good neighbor.
And that's why they stay.
State Farm is there.
Coming up next, most of you will see from the Civic Arena the Georgetown Hoyas against the Pittsburgh Panthers. Reggie Williams, a brilliant player for John Thompson's Georgetown team. And he's opposed by Charles Smith, who was so brilliant in Spain this summer. He'll be leading the Pittsburgh Panthers, and Paul Evans, the new coach. That's coming up next. Georgetown, Pittsburgh. Some of you will be seeing the game in Wyoming between the Cardinals of Louisville and the Wyoming Cowboys. 4:25 to go here. 70-66. North Carolina the lead. Joe Wolf has hit his last 5 shots to lead North Carolina to this 4-point advantage.
But he's out of the game right now, and Carolina playing a very small team.
Billy King, dangerous pass to Smith. They got away with it. The basket will count it. We have a foul.
San Ranzino Smith. Now, Gary, Carolina, during that timeout, came back on the floor with an extremely small team, which created some tough matchups. And in that particular case, Ranzino Smith found himself under the basket in no position to rebound. Kind of an interesting lineup. D. Smith's going to have to make this lineup a little bigger.
figuring he's got to rest guys like Wolf for the stretch drive. 4:10 left to go. That foul on Ranzino Smith, his second. And that was a tough pass on the baseline, Billy. Almost was intercepted. They got away with it. And they're trying to decide who's going to shoot the free throw. Now, Smith hit the basket, but I don't think he was the guy fouled, was it?
Well, Billy King doesn't want to go to that foul line. They want to put Strickland over there. Now, they're about the same size. They'd be smart to have their numbers like 34 and 43. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the official would have inverted. Right. Well, who's going to shoot it?
Well, if you're Duke, you're going to put Strickland on the line. Dean Smith's going to say, no, we want Billy King on the line, and Dean Smith's going to want a little talk to those officials.
There's the foul difficulty. Duke with 2 with 4, and Lebo with 4 for North Carolina.
And you see who's on that line, Strickland. Dean Smith still asking why.
Well, he's on the road. When you're on the road, you don't get their attention as quickly, right?
The guy who got the attention of the officials this week was Mickey Donaher at Dayton. They ushered him right out of the ball game. He's one of the class guys in the sport.
Had a chance to cut it to 1. Instead, they are down by 2. Then it goes to Popson. Missed it inside. Ferry comes up with it, and Duke can tie it up.
Popson got the shot he wanted.
What a struggle this has been. Lived up to all expectations, hasn't it? Billy King into Smith. It's Nathan again. Smith with 20.
That's the sophomore, going to be a solid performer.
Ranzino Smith. Popson retrieves, and he's fouled. And that'll be Ferry, and he's fouled out of the game.
Now, what hurts Duke in that particular case is not only his size, but his ball handling ability down the stretch.
Hesley's going to come back in. Ferry will lead.
Well, you talk about traditions. We mentioned Danny Ferry going to DeMatha. DeMatha presently leads all high schools with guys that are alumnus from that school playing in the ACC. They've got Ferry, they've got Benny Bolton and Quentin Jackson over at NC State. Steve Hood, who's that outstanding freshman player at the University of Maryland.
Morgan Wooten, the coach there. And that's one of the reasons I think Ferry is so fundamentally sound and passes so well, is his influence in high school. 2 shots now for Popson. Popson, an excellent free throw shooter, 83% as Lebo now comes in. Ranzino Smith will leave. 3 minutes, 29 seconds left to go. We're even at 70 as Joe Wolf will come in at the first opportunity.
And you can see what Dean Smith has done here. He's rested them periodically, and he's going to get what he considers his best lineup in the game for the stretch drive.
And the stretch drive is here. Substitution. And speaking of championships, what about this one from Giant Stadium, New York against Washington? Joe Gibbs masterminding his team against Bill Parcells. I'm sure everybody will pause to take note of that ball game. 71-70 now. North Carolina into John Smith. He has 22.
That was as well as any team has attacked the Carolina press in a long, long time. Excellent ball handling.
Duke by 1. Career high for John Smith at 22. And he had a hand on it. It'll be off of John Smith. J.R. Reed will set up as Jeff Lebo will inbound now for the Tar Heels.
Gary, is wide spread out as this game is right now. Duke has to be very careful for backdoor cuts by North Carolina. They really have the defense spread out.
Lebo, three-pointer. Oh, great shot. 2-point lead now for North Carolina. Lebo with 13 points. Something to keep in mind, Billy. Duke has only 1 timeout left in this game. Carolina has 4. 2.5 minutes to go in the game.
John Smith had good position.
Three-pointer by Strickland. Hesley, he and Reed had a real collision in midair that time.
Look at J.R. pull that ball out.
Denny Smith on the drive. Bucks hard.
Now, Duke right now needs the timeout, but like you said, Gary, they don't want to use it with only 1 left. They'd like to cut this momentum down a little.
4-point lead now for the Tar Heels.
Set play by Mike Krzyzewski wanted to use up a little of that clock to make sure they get a good shot. Dangerous pass.
2 minutes to go. There's a steal by Reed, and now North Carolina will be in no hurry. 4-point lead with 1:50 to go. Think they might go that four corners?
That is just a total motion offense with nobody in the low post looking for some backdoor cuts.
There's Kenny Smith, kicks the back out. Lebo to Reed.
JR's been very patient with that ball. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
You see the time left on the screen. 4-point lead for North Carolina. Smith to Wolf.
We're down to 8 seconds.
Yep, 7. It's 6. Wolf tries one, and a big rebound by Reed. And
that goes!
And he's fouled.
What strength! Joe Wolf had it down to 8 seconds, put up the jumper. There's Reed. Got fouled the first time, got fouled again, got fouled the third time on that sequence, and hits the shot anyway.
Billy King committing a foul, his 4th. Just before that, Billy, you talked about the poise of Reed, and he just came up with a big basket.
Well, he was hammered 3 times in that play. There's Martin Nestle. He's been having to work against him. JR's a man-child. He is going to be something.
10 points, 12 rebounds. He's hit all 4 of his free throws thus far. 6-point lead for North Carolina, trying to end a 22-game home winning streak here for the Duke Blue Devils.
You know, a streak was broken last year when Duke beat Carolina in the last game of the year to win the ACC championship. But what it did, it knocked North Carolina out of 19 straight years of either first or second in their league, which is probably as tough a record as you could imagine trying to accomplish.
78-72, a little more in a minute. Amaker, quick shot, rebound, Reed, and Reed right now is kind of taken over.
You don't want to be in a hurry if you're North Carolina.
And that's a charge on Lebo. Quinn Snyder precipitated that. That's 5. Lebo is fouled out.
Jeff Lebo tried to force it. There was no need to hurry. He could pull the ball back out. The smart player, extremely aggressive. He caught with a mental mistake on that one.
He fouls out with 13 points. Krzyzewski hasn't given up on this one. Why was that 3-point play? You're 2 shots away, right? 78-72, 53 seconds to go.
And you have to plan that way as a coach. Now you're looking for Amaker and Strickland to get this shot off. Snyder also a good 3-point shooter. Snyder almost up at 50% on the year from the 3-point line.
Both the Smiths are in now. Ramzino coming in to join Kenny Smith. Needs some help. Snyder needs help. He gets it in to Bricky.
There it is.
3-pointer by Quinn. And Reed is there again. Going to have a hell ball, and the alternating possession goes to North Carolina. Is that what they're calling? Or they know they're going to call a foul.
Foul trying to reach in on. I was just going to say, Gary, if you call a held ball on J.R. Reed, I want to see how strong that other man is.
That's right. Amaker committed the foul, his 3rd. But Reed now with 14 rebounds. And Billy, they've been big rebounds. Down the stretch, he's taken over both the offensive and defensive ends. And he hit another free throw. He has 11 points. 79-72.
J.R. Reed came into this game with 64 shots from the foul line so far this year. He's going to be a guy that's going to be on that line. So if he can get his percentage up in the high 70s, you can imagine what that's going to do for his scoring average.
Steal by Bucknall. 36 seconds to go.
Some move by Kenny Smith.
Against one of the best defensive players in the country.
There's what a senior will do. Pull the ball back out. Time is the only factor now.
Going to have a foul from behind. And so that'll stop the clock as Strickland picking up his 4th foul. They're starting to celebrate. They come in here in one of the most difficult places in the nation to win, Cameron Indoor Stadium. And right now, with a 79-72 lead, North Carolina has stamped themselves as the team to beat the ACC.
Well, I would have to say that, but when you think nationally, Gary, no question in my mind, UNLV, until they're beaten, deserves to be #1. But if you said, who's the team that'd be the toughest one for them to beat, North Carolina's the one. When you figure they beat Purdue on a neutral floor, then they took on SMU right after that. They've been up this week to Philadelphia to take on LaSalle, then they come over to Duke to play. There's nobody this year that's had a stretch of games of that magnitude.
North Carolina's only loss early out at UCLA. Duke had lost to Illinois. Both teams had 10-game winning streaks. Strickland, not a good shot. Reed comes down with it. Who else? And he's ganged up on, gets it out to Ranzino Smith, who's fouled by Quinn Snyder. Don't forget now the second half of our doubleheader. Georgetown, Pittsburgh. Most of you will see that. Some of you will see the defending NCAA champions, Louisville against Wyoming.
You know, Gary, people ought to really stay tuned to Georgetown. Which team are they going to see?
Yeah.
You know, they got wiped out by Seton Hall, then they turned around and blew out St. John's. Seton Hall figures they've got their program ready to go. They go up and get beat by Connecticut. That Big East is topsy-turvy.
By the way, Reed has 15 rebounds, a career high, but you know in the next 4 years he'll break that.
There's Joe Wolf coming out. Good gut effort by Joe Wolf. You know he had to be a little stiff coming into this ball game.
Boy, they couldn't have done it without him. 83-72. The score not really indicative of how close this game has been. Amateur with a three-pointer, and Duke uses their last timeout with 8 seconds to go. 83-75, North Carolina.
Why do 32 million Americans protect their engines with Quaker State motor oil? Because they're car-caring people who want only the best for their engines. Here, Quaker State quality stands up to the constant pounding, heat, and friction that breaks down motor oil. You can see Quaker State quality, the pure protection that comes from our state-of-the-art formula that can't be beat.
There's no place on earth that I'd rather be than out in the open where it's all plain to see. If it's gonna get done, it's up to you and to me. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Head for the mountains of Bush.
You know something? The way it runs and feels and everything? This Pontiac 6000 of mine is probably one of the finest road sedans of all time.
Oh, come on.
Probably.
Okay.
I did say probably.
All right.
Okay.
The Great American Face. Strong, sensitive. The Great American Razor. Atra Plus. Solid. With the Luber Smooth Strip for extra protection. The Great American Face deserves the Great American Shave. Atra Plus. Only from Gillette.
8 seconds to go on this one. North Carolina to close out with a victory here as Quinn Snyder reaching around and committing the foul on Ranzino Smith. And the Chevrolet most valuable players of the game are J.R. Reed, University of North Carolina, who had 11 points and 15 rebounds, and Tommy Amaker of Duke, 17 points and 2 assists, and a check in the amount of $1,000 will be donated to each college's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. It was a tough pick for North Carolina. We gave it to Reed. I thought Joe Wolf had a great game, Billy. 20 points, hit his last 5 field goals. But with a slim margin of victory, we gave it to J.R. Reed. By the way, Quinn Snyder just fouled out on that last play. There he is, sitting down. One of the finest players ever to come out of the state of Washington, a sophomore who had led him in scoring the last 2 games. 85-75. You look at the score, Billy, you wouldn't know how tough it was, would you? Strickland.
It wasn't a 10-point game at all. There you see a nice shot by Amaker. Excellent contest.
85-77 the final. As Duke's 22-game home winning streak has come to an end. Second-ranked North Carolina wins it.
Back to the Sun Belt for Jim Gibbons. This is Bob Rathman from the Jacksonville Coliseum. So long. Oh, that missed dunk by Tellis Franks. And now a 4-0 conference record for Jacksonville. They have a 9-5 overall record. 80-71, the final score with a victory over Western Kentucky. Good evening, I'm Bob Lee. We are smack dab in the middle of our evening of college basketball. We're getting reports on Illinois and Iowa, and upcoming in just a matter of a few moments, North Carolina, number 3 in the country, taking on Virginia. Lefty Drizel makes his debut as a color commentator. Let's see what Lefty will do tonight, analyzing how Terry Holland and Dean Smith's teams go at each other tonight in Charlottesville. Let's get you caught up now on the top 20. I mentioned Iowa and Illinois. The number 2 team on the country is taking it on the chin tonight in Champaign. They have gone to halftime now. The Fighting Illini with a
52-35 lead. So, and of course, that Purdue game has also just now gone to halftime, and Purdue leading Minnesota 45-28. Illinois leading its game against Iowa by 17 at halftime. Tennessee and Auburn early on, 14-14 score in that first half. Also tonight, Clemson with a 14-0 record in the country, leading Furman at halftime now in Clemson, South Carolina by that 15-point margin. St. John's has a 10-2 overall record against Brooklyn College tonight, stepping away from the rigors of the Big East, 22-13 lead. Duke visiting Maryland. That game has gone to halftime right now. Duke looking to go 12-2 on the season, up 9 on the Terps. And Navy with a 9-3 overall record tonight, only up by a deuce on Lafayette. That is a 38-36 lead. We're standing by for North Carolina and Virginia. Jacksonville a winner over Western Kentucky, 80-71. We continue with our doubleheader. College basketball on ESPN after this. ESPN's college basketball, Western Kentucky and Jacksonville. Brought to you by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name and taste. Everything else is just a light.
Live America's Cup racing tonight on ESPN. The determination and skill of Dennis Conner's Stars and Stripes brought a dramatic semifinal victory over the radically designed USA. Now Stars and Stripes faces their toughest competitor, the Kiwis of New Zealand, whose speed and expertise have dominated every round. Don't miss any of the excitement of the Challenger Finals live tonight at 11 Eastern. The America's Cup, Challenge Down Under, only on ESPN.
Give me a light. Bud Light. Oh, the chili.
If you just ask for a light beer, you never know what you'll get. Give me a light. Bud Light. So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light. No, Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Nobody has lower fares than United to more cities across this land. North to south, east to west, only United has low fares to all 50 states.
You're not just flying, you're flying friendly skies.
We're set now for our second game, college basketball tonight. Maryland, of course, the big story in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year. Lefty Driesell no longer the head coach. He's now, of course, on the sidelines. If Charlotte, North Carolina does get an expansion NBA franchise, well, certainly Lefty will be the head coach of that team. But right now, he's going to be making his debut as a color commentator as we take a look at number 3 North Carolina taking on Virginia tonight. Mike Patrick and Lefty Driesell on this game. Michael.
Mike Patrick along with Lefty Driesell, and we're down here in Charlottesville where North Carolina and Virginia will be going at it. Coach, it's great to have you with us as an analyst on these games. It's got to be the first time that you and Dean and Terry have all been working the same game.
Well, not really. Terry coached for me one time. We played in North Carolina NCAA playoffs a couple of times, and I was thinking today, you know, laying back in the motel there waiting for the game to start. I don't know how many years ago when Terry was a senior at Davidson, I asked him what he wanted to do. You know, he said he wanted to go to a graduate school and become a CPA. So he applied to the University of North Carolina, was accepted, was all set to go, and then I talked him out of it and talked him into coaching. And if it wasn't for that, he'd probably be in the stands rooting for North Carolina tonight.
Coach, you've been involved in a lot of upsets in your career. Last year, North Carolina came in here undefeated, ranked number 1, and Virginia beat them.
Well, that's right. I tell you, this is a hard place to play because it's close in. I'm sure the students are going to be pumped up tonight, and they're going to be after J.R. Reed because he's from Virginia. Should be a great ballgame, emotional game.
All right, should be a lot of fun for us, too. Virginia and North Carolina coming up from Charlottesville, Virginia. We'll have that for you in a little bit. Right now, let's go back to Bob Lee in the studio.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, Lefty on the sidelines tonight with the headset, describing the action along with Michael, his debut tonight. We'll be keeping an eye on that one, as well as scores from around the country, as our doubleheader is set to get going with the nightcap. Down to Charlottesville, the number 3 Tar Heels are in town.
We're not a company, but we'll give you a chance to work where there's always a challenge. We'll give you opportunities to learn, to develop, to perfect skills that you thought were beyond your reach. We'll help you build a career that can reward you for the rest of your life. We're not a company. We're your country. We're the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. We're the armed forces. It's a great place to start.
The Volvo 760, the car for people whose means have changed, but whose values haven't.
This bud's for all that you do.
Today, a landscaper. Tomorrow, a college student.
Yep. Finally took your advice, Mike.
You taught him.
Already you're smart.
All you knew. They say he's a lot like you. Yeah, you make America work, and this bud's for you.
Here's to you, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
To a future architect. And to a brother who made it possible.
This bud's for you.
Fact. Americans are investing their money in unprecedented numbers. Fact. Investing is easy. Making money is hard. Fact. If you're not a professional, you're an amateur. Before you invest, talk to a professional. Ask a securities broker about the investment products of Kemper Financial Services. Mutual funds, money market funds, unit trusts, life insurance and annuities, real estate. Kemper Financial Services, a concern for your future.
ESPN's college basketball, North Carolina and Virginia. Brought to you by the U.S. Armed Forces. It's a great place to start. And by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by Volvo, a car you can believe in. We're getting set to head down to Charlottesville, Virginia. After this game, we're going live to Western Australia for our continuing coverage of the America's Cup. Today, New Zealand requesting a lay day, which is their right. Once around, each side can request a day off. So with Stars and Stripes with a 2-0 lead. There was no racing today among the challengers, but we'll be going live for an update. Also, word on the Kookaburra 3, Australia 4 controversy. That's after this game. Now let's get to the game in Charlottesville, and we'll be doing that right after we take this break.
Hi, Stoggy. When unexpected guests stop by, movies from Video Library are just the ticket.
Pink Panther.
In fact, Video Library has thousands of ways to entertain you and your special guests. Make your next get-together an instant success with Video Library. We help you see things your way.
You can be on television. In fact, your commercial could be airing right now, right here, for your business. Think about it. Right now, thousands of people are watching this commercial. They could be watching your commercial. And tomorrow, they could be shopping in your store. Call this number. We'll tell you more about how you can be on television.
Carolina always has problems playing at Virginia, and the Tar Heels are number 3 in the country. Let's see how Lefty does in his debut as a color announcer, along with Mike Patrick. The first half full of reports on Illinois and Iowa. Now let's get to UVA.
Mike Patrick and Lefty Driesell back with you in Charlottesville, where we have North Carolina and the Cavaliers of Virginia coming up. North Carolina is 13-1, 2-0 in the ACC. They're ranked 2nd or 3rd in the polls this week. Virginia is 9-3. They are 1-1 in the ACC, and this would be a big, big ball game for them to win. If you'll remember, last year they came in here undefeated, ranked number 1 in the country, and they were knocked off by the Virginia Cavaliers. Right now, let's get the starting lineup from public address announcer Charlie Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the lineups for this evening's game between the University of Virginia Cavaliers and the Tar Heels from North Carolina. Starting at the forward positions For the University of North Carolina, number 35, Dave Popsa. For the Cavaliers, number 42, Andrew Kennedy. At the other Carolina forward position, number 34, J.R. Reed. For Virginia, number 21, Mel Kennedy. At center for the Tar Heels, number 24, Joe Wolf. For Virginia at center, number 22, Tom Sheehy. At guard for North Carolina, number 14, Jeff Lebo. For the Cavaliers, number 11, Richard Morgan. Rounding out the team for the Carolina Tar Heels, number 30, Kenny Smith. For Virginia, number 10, John Johnson. And the head coach of the Tar Heels, Dean Smith. Coach of the Cavaliers, head coach Terry Holland.
The officials for tonight's game, Joe Forte, Jerry Donahue, and Stan Rote. And Lefty, you got more of a hand when you came in here tonight than either Dean Smith or Jerry Holland got. It's a nice welcome, huh?
Well, you know, when I'm not coaching, they're nice to me. I usually hold up signs and boo me when I come in here, but it was very nice. I enjoyed that.
Now, the one guy who was booed when they introduced the starting lineup was J.R. Reed. In case people don't know, that's because he's from Virginia Beach, and the students were chanting traitor a little early.
Well, you know, J.R. was very seriously considering coming to Virginia, and I think his mother really wanted him to come here because she's a school teacher in the state of Virginia, and she thought Virginia boys ought to go to Virginia colleges, you know. But I'm going to tell you what, J.R. Reed's a great player, and I think he might be the best big man ever to play in the ACC.
Coach, here are the matchups. Anything in particular that we need to watch for?
Well, I may be interested to see who guards J.R. Reed and Popson and Wolf, see what the matchups will be there. Because they're all so much bigger than the Virginia guys.
And there's the series record. As you can tell, North Carolina is dominating 88-33. Last year they split during the regular season, winning home and home.
That series record doesn't mean anything. Tonight it's right here on the floor.
Right, most of these guys weren't around for the last 120-some games.
That's right.
North Carolina controlling the opening tap. This is Joe Wolf, who missed a game a couple of games ago with a bad back, but came back to play a great game against Duke. Right there, Lebo went one way, the pass went the other.
Well, I can see what Virginia was doing. They're sagging back in there. They're going to let Wolf and J.R. and Popson shoot outside, get as much help as they can back inside with their men, and right there it was just a bad pass.
Here comes John Johnson, the junior out of Brooklyn, picked up by Lebo. This is Mel Kennedy, and this is Virginia's small lineup. Morgan.
Virginians will be very deliberate, take their time and get a good shot. That's the way they can get her to three-pointer.
Sheehy won't go. Kennedy had his hands on it inside, but lost it inside to Joe Wolf.
Watch the secondary breakdown in North Carolina. They like to take the ball down the sideline and kick it right inside or skip past it sometimes to the weak side for a three-point jumper.
Reed. This shot won't go. Sheehy gets the rebound to Johnson.
He did a good job of blocking out Wolf that time and stopping him from getting the second shot. I think Virginia's going to take their time and run the clock down a little bit, see what they can get.
This is Andrew Kennedy, a guy they want to have the ball. He gets the basket against Thompson and draws the foul.
It was a nice pass inside by Johnson. He threw a bounce pass along the baseline and made a great move. Watch his pass inside. Good bounce pass, good drop step, power move up. Got the three-pointer possible.
Kennedy in his last 10 games is shooting 62% from the floor. He has really come on after a slow start. The senior out of Kingston, Jamaica. And he'll have a chance for a three-point shot here. Not a great free throw shooter. 68% on the season. Got that one, and it's 3-0 Cavaliers.
There comes Virginia with the press, and I talked to Curry about this today. He's really not trying to steal the ball. He's just trying to slow him down a little bit, but he doesn't want to give him those.
Lebo. Here's the follow, and it's 3-2.
Got to keep him off the court. He's strong. He's got to be the strongest freshman ever to play in the ACC.
He's 6'9", 244, and it's all muscle.
I tell you, he's a man.
Sheehy. We'll keep track of Lebo. As Lefty pointed out, he was 0 for 8 last year. Johnson got the good shot and got the roll. Good bounce, too. Got the shooter's bounce. Smith on hustling it up. Great pass to Popson.
Virginia doesn't want that to happen. I know Curry doesn't want that to happen in his press. He wants it just to make a soft press in the front court and then get back and slow him up. But they killed him on the break that time.
Johnson guarded by Lebo. Mel Kennedy. Andrew Kennedy with a tip.
Here comes a quick break after the score.
Boy, they're up in a hurry. Reed kicks it back outside to Wolf. He's got good range on that jumper.
That's right. That's what they look for at the end of their break. If they don't get a layup or a shot, then they look for the jump shot coming back for the trailer. And that's what Wolf hit that time.
7-6. North Carolina over, or trailing Virginia, rather, with 17:28 to go in the half.
You just got to be patient there and take your time.
Oregon loves to shoot that ball. The rebound to Popson, and he got hit in the eye.
He shot that ball a little bit too quick. They're not going to beat North Carolina to shoot that quickly. He's got to take his time. The rebounders weren't in position. If you shoot the ball too quickly, you don't give the rebounders a chance to get in position. They've got to get in position against North Carolina because they're so big.
Yeah, but, Coach, you've had shooters, as soon as they cross midcourt, they want to jack that thing up there.
Yeah, but I had to talk to him about it. See, he was off balance. He was drifting on his shot, and that's a tough shot right there. And he shot a little bit too quick.
Sheehy unintentionally came across and caught Popson across the face, and they're attending to him now at the North Carolina sideline. And they'll get Curtis Hunter into the ball game for the first time. Here's a kid who, when he first came to North Carolina, was rated as having unlimited potential, and you feel so sorry for him because he's had so many injuries in his career.
That's right. He's from Durham, North Carolina, right there near the university, and I think it was between them and Duke, and he was supposed to be a great one. He's coming along now. He's playing good ball for him. He's getting a chance to play, and he's gotten his confidence up, and he's going to be a factor for him before the year's over.
Wolf with a turnaround jumper. Great use of the glass, and North Carolina has the lead at 8-7.
And that's the problem that Virginia's going to have. They've got to drop somebody back in there to help on Wolf because you can't play behind him. Here comes Virginia's trap. Here comes their double team. Back to the weak side real quick.
Lebo knocked it out of Sheehy's hand. Sheehy may have gotten away with a walk.
Sheehy missed getting that ball back. Andrew Kennedy was wide open. If he would have hit it in the middle and got it back to the weak side quickly, he would have had an easy shot inside.
And Virginia is playing a tough schedule. Morgan, another off-balance shot. He's the scorer, though, Coach.
Yeah, he is. He really put the ball in. He's got a great follow-through, and sometimes will isolate on his jump shot and show you his wrist.
Ball tipped outside. Hunter recovers. Wolf, great pass inside, and Hunter scores.
They can't let that happen. That's the problem with laying off of the big guys. You let them on anybody. I like to, when I played North Carolina, or when we used to play them, I like to get up close on the pass and not let him spot the open man like that.
And they are excellent passers, every one of them. Sheehy down the lane. Basket goes. And it's an offensive foul on Sheehy.
J.R. Reed did a good job of standing his ground, and I think that was a good call.
Of course, every time there is a foul called against Sheehy, you have to worry for Virginia because Sheehy is an important factor up front, and he does tend to get in foul trouble.
He gets a lot of foolish fouls. That was a good move, man, though. He was going through the hole, and I'll take a charge on that. Take a 2 points.